Hey, what's up? Romain from Glebe Kitchen here. Today we're going to make Bombay potatoes. If you've never tried Bombay potatoes, stick around. You're in for a real treat. Bombay potatoes, restaurant style. Potatoes are right in the name, so let's start with that. It's important to use waxy potatoes here. A floury potato is just going to disintegrate. If you're not a fan of Bombay mashed potatoes, stick with waxy. Cook them in well-salted water. A little turmeric is a nice touch, it adds some color. I have absolutely no idea why the water turns red, but don't let that freak you out. The potatoes are going to turn out just fine. Do your prep while the potatoes cook. Slice half an onion crosswise about 1/8 of an inch thick. And don't worry about quantities, this is about the how. There's a link to the recipe with detailed instructions down below. I really love fresh tomatoes in this recipe. Hard to beat the taste of tomatoes and cilantro. You want 1 small tomato and about a tablespoon of cilantro. Hot probe through soft butter tells me the potatoes are done. This recipe uses my handy dandy Indian restaurant spice mix. There's a link to the recipe down below. To that I'm adding cumin, coriander, Kashmiri chili powder, salt, and a little kasuri methi. All that's left is to add a little water to some tomato paste and the prep's done. Time to get cooking. It's important not to skimp on the oil in this recipe. Nobody ever said Indian restaurant style was diet food. And I don't care what anyone with an air fryer says, it takes oil to fry potatoes. You might be tempted to skip this step, but don't. It's important for 2 reasons. It firms them up a little more and keeps them from losing their shape. But more importantly, it adds flavor. Tell me you don't want to eat these potatoes. I mean, look at them. A little bit of salt? Wow. I should have made more to snack on. If you've splattered oil everywhere, you might need to add a little more before you add the onions. I was a little heavy-handed at the start, so I'm good here. Once the onions are nice and soft, it's time to add a little bit of mustard seed. Let that cook around 30 seconds and then add some hopefully homemade garlic ginger paste. It's gonna splatter at this point, so watch out. You know the garlic ginger paste is done when it stops sizzling hard. And now the moment of truth for any Indian restaurant curry. Turn your heat down and add your powdered spices. This is called blooming spices and it's absolutely critical in Indian cooking. There are compounds in spices that get dissolved into the oil and carried into every bite. If you learn one thing in this video, make sure this is it. Fried spices in oil makes magic happen. It's a little tricky though. Too hot a pan or not enough oil and you risk burning the spices and then you're starting over. The good news is once you add that diluted tomato paste, you're back in safe zone. Crank the heat at this point. From here on in, you're frying for maximum flavor. It's curry base time. It's also pyrotechnic time. My burner cap wasn't quite on right and well, this happened. Don't do this at home. If you don't know what curry base is, it used to be a carefully guarded secret, but it isn't anymore. I have a video on how to make it. It's not hard. It's this vaguely curry flavored onion soup, but when that soup hits hot oil, something fantastic happens. That something is the Maillard reaction. Google it if you're interested, it's foundational. Heat, reducing sugars, and amino acids make flavor. Lots of flavor. I've added the curry base in 2 batches and I've let each batch cook about 90 seconds. Turn the heat down to something slightly under pyrotechnic and add the potatoes. Be a little more careful than I was and you'll have less to clean up. That's a case of showing off for the camera that backfired. Let the curry simmer until the potatoes are just warmed through. At this point this is one tasty dish, but I want better. So I'm adding amchur for a nice acidic tang. Amchur is ground dried mango. By the way, having your dog walk by at this point does not affect the flavor. Add some tomato, give it a stir and let it simmer for about a minute. At this point, the only thing that could make this better is a little cilantro. So let's add some of that. Not too much mind you, just that tablespoon that we chopped at the beginning. Bombay potatoes. For me, they're up there with poutine or chili cheese fries. If you like them half as much as I do, they're gonna be a big hit. This recipe and many more are available at Glebe Kitchen. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please subscribe or hit the like button. And remember, life's too short for bad food.